The truth is this, God's people, I hear from God every day. God speaks to me every day. I've never needed anyone to encourage me in 30 years. I've never needed encouragement in 30 years. That someone will sit with me and say, oh, Brother David, don't get worried. There is no worry around me. In the presence of the Lord, there is fullness of joy. Now, let me tell you this. The devil wants to depress you so as to rob you of God's presence. He wants to depress you to rob you of access to God's voice.
Welcome to Apostle TV today. Access to the voice of God is the stronghold of faith. The voice of God makes you dare the undareable. The voice of God makes you think the unthinkable. And the voice of God makes you move the unmovable. The voice of God is the cure to the doubts of life. Your faith and my faith stands to be shaky if it is not rooted in the voice of God. If you can hear from God, the world will hear from you. Therefore, pay rapt attention as God's servant, Bishop David Oyedepo, speaks on how to access the voice of God.
I was in the bedroom when God said, arise, get down to Lagos, raise me a people. I wasn't in the prayer room. I was in the bedroom. Now, I was driving a car. I was sitting in the car when God said to me, the harvest of Africa is now overripe. Rush in and preserve it from decadence. I was in the car. I wasn't in the prayer room. I was in the church. When the mandate that is now blowing hot in 45 nations of Africa was delivered, I was in the car. If we live in the spirit, let us also walk in the spirit. It's time for us to understand that spiritual things only answer to spiritual people. Spiritual things only answer to spiritual people. Spiritual things only answer to spiritual people. Number 3, we must engage in a lifestyle of praise. A lifestyle of praise. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 29 to 31. Thou shalt have a song as in the night. Isaiah 30, 29 to 31. When the holy solemnity is kept, he said, and the Lord will cause his glorious voice to be heard. And through the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrians be beaten down that smote with a rod. You shall have a song, and the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard. You shall have a song, then you can access the voice. You shall have a song. People are so depressed that there is no way they can hear from God. You shall have a song, and then the Lord will cause his glorious voice to be heard. Without a song, no access to the voice. Now remember, in 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 15, Elisha said, bring me a singer. And as she began to play, the hand of the Lord came upon Elisha, and the voice of the Lord came calling. You shall have a song. Then the Lord will cause his glorious voice to be heard. You shall have a song. Then you can now hear the voice. You don't have a song, you can't hear the voice. You don't have a voice, a song, you can't have the voice. You know, Paul said, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. He said, rejoice evermore. I want you to know what is in joy. If you are not joyful, you can't access his voice. Without his voice, you remain a victim. So rejoice in the Lord, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice evermore. The truth is this, God's people, I hear from God every day. God speaks to me every day. I've never needed anyone to encourage me in 30 years. I've never needed encouragement in 30 years. That someone will sit with me and say, oh, Brother David, don't get worried. There is no worry around me. In the presence of the Lord, there is fullness of joy. Now, let me tell you this. The devil wants to depress you so as to rob you of God's presence. He wants to depress you to rob you of access to God's voice. He wants to depress you to keep you in captivity. You cannot be oppressed until you are first depressed. Therefore, be free from every spirit of depression in the name of Jesus. Be free from every spirit of depression in the name of Jesus. And then, of course, number 4, engage a lifestyle of prayer and fasting. I think that's where we have the problem down here. Engage a lifestyle of prayer and fasting. Prayer is not a rescue system. Prayer is a lifestyle. Jesus said, when ye pray, not if ye pray. Matthew 6 verse 6 to 8. He said, but thou, when thou prayest. So it's an issue of when. It must be a program of your life. When ye pray, you, when thou prayest, and when ye pray. Now he went on in verse 16 of the same Matthew chapter 6. He said, when ye fast. But thou, when thou fastest. Now, so prayer and fasting, according to the teaching of Jesus, is supposed to be our way of life. A lot of people here have testimonies of the presence of God that comes on them when they stand waiting on Him. Very strange. Until prayer and fasting becomes your lifestyle, you're far from access to this realm of faith. This realm of faith requires that you learn how to stand upon your watch and set yourself upon the tower to hear what He will say to you. And the Lord said, write the vision. And the Lord said, write the vision. Think of it. I was waiting on the Lord when the Lord delivered me from the tendencies for indebtedness. 1981. And I saw in my Bible, waiting on the Lord, Deuteronomy chapter 15 verse 6. He said, the Lord thy God blesses you as He has promised you, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And I said, why? He said, because borrower is servant to the lender. I said, but why, Lord? He said, and you cannot serve two masters. We have to choose one and despise the other. I said, Lord, I choose you. October 4, 1981, God delivered me from the trap of debt. I have never owned a dime or borrowed a dime from any mortal man, living or dead, since 1981. God has been, I see, when you wait on the Lord, He said, then shall your light break forth out of obscurity. Your light will break forth as the morning. We need a breaking forth. When we are away from the body, we are present with the Lord. We need to know how to be present with the Lord. Most of the things working in my life today, they came by waiting on the Lord, and it's working. It's working. 1982, I started and I said, God, show me the secret of kingdom prosperity. And I took the Copeland's books and my Bible to wait on the Lord for 3 days. On the third day, light broke out. And the Lord said, my son David, my prosperity plan is not a promise, so it does not answer to prayers. It's not a promise, there's no respect for fasting. My prosperity plan is a covenant. Until your part is played, I am not committed. Direct rhema from heaven. And I said, what is my part? Why the earth remaineth? Seed time and harvest shall not cease. I heard from God. I screamed and I said, I can never be poor. That was the day God took me out of any realm of poverty. Waiting on the Lord helps you to hear God clearly. Your hearing becomes more distinct. You can tell exactly what God is saying for you to do, and then you are up running. Prayer and fasting must become our lifestyle if we must enjoy God's plan and purpose for the hour. And as we close tonight, you want to hear from God because He speaks through His word. Engage in the search for the truth. Engage in the search for the truth on any subject matter. Engage in the search for the truth. God speaks to us through His words. He If you are challenged in any area and you want to hear what God is saying, then pick on those materials that show where it is, and then you can find what God is saying. You know, he said, I have also spoken by the prophets, and have multiplied visions, and used similitudes through the ministry of the prophets. Hosea chapter 12 and verse 10. So you collect materials that will help your understanding on the subject matter, and then God speaks to you through those materials to know what exactly to do. If you know what he knows and you hear what he hears, you will get the same result that he gets. God is no respecter of persons, and God multiplies visions through the ministry of prophets. He multiplies visions through the ministry of apostles. You hear them, and then God opens you up to what is next for you to do in life. My prayer today is that every one of us here will begin to explore the unlimited opportunities in faith.